Well, the camper is pretty much done. And this is most likely going to be the last part to this 7-part series, and part 7 here, mostly on the plumbing. And if you happen to miss the other 6 parts of this series, check out my playlist area. That literally got us all the way up to this point. I'm not going to rehash that, but I'll splash the screen here with a screenshot of that series, so make sure you check that out after this video. But this is going to be strictly on the plumbing and what I did to make this quick and easy, at least for our cargo trailer camper conversion. Now, just to kind of quick go over, I got all these, well, not all, but most products off of Amazon. I'll actually have a link in the description box below that have a link to all these products. I did get some of the plumbing hoses and fixtures and other miscellaneous clamps from our local Menards store. I'm not going to go in like super great detail of every single part and every single clamp. Some of this stuff you might have to figure out yourself. But just to give you an idea of how this works. Now, these tanks are 5-gallon tanks. I got these off of Amazon, and I have one dedicated here for waste. Do not drink. This is for the wastewater. Otherwise, I have 3 other 5-gallon jugs here, and you can see this one is completely filled up to 5 total gallons. You can see there's a little bit of an air gap up here, and what's nice about these is they do come with a vent cap. Now, these do not come pre-drilled. You have to drill out these holes, at least for the vent cap. And what I did to get this on, at least for the drinkable water, rigid pipe here. I believe this is actually PEX pipe. I think they sell this in, I think it was 4 or 5 foot lengths at Menards. And the fitting here is actually a brass fitting that I got from Menards. It's actually not in the plumbing area. It's actually in the lawn and garden area. They actually use this for sprinkler systems to hook up a hose to attachment. And this is actually a quick connect adapter. Obviously, you can see with this rigid pipe, it goes all the way to the bottom of this 5-gallon tank. Now, this is a BPA free, so it's safe for drinkable water, as for all of these. And at least for our cargo trailer camper conversion, obviously this is 5 gallons. I'm going to have 10 and 15 total gallons of drinkable water. And then I'm leaving 1 here for the wastewater. These caps, and I'll show you what these caps look like. These caps do not come pre-drilled. And what I had to do is I drilled a pilot hole in the middle of this cap, and then I got a 1-inch spade bit and cut this out completely. And then I actually took a utility blade and heated it up with a blowtorch till it was red hot, and I made serration cuts about every 1/4 of an inch, and then cut this out completely, leaving a big gaping hole, at least for this cap, so I could put this quick connect adapter on it. And you can see it's just a brass fitting here with this pipe, and I have a hose clamp here. And this brass fitting I also got off of Amazon, which I'm going to try my best to do this with one hand, but you can kind of see it's just a quick connect fitting. And like I said, I'm not going to go in super great detail. Some of this you might have to figure out yourself, but I'm giving you a lowdown of how this kind of works. Now, the actual pump that I used was the C-Flow. It's the 42 series. This has a variable speed, so you can actually lower down the amount of water coming out without it shutting completely on and off. And what happens is when the system pressurizes, this pump will completely shut off. So this is the model number that I got. And like I said, I'll have a link to this in the description box below. And also with the quick connects, and also the faucet that we got. Now, I won't say this is a Moen faucet, but it's pretty nice, you know. You can pull this out. It has a shut off, and I'm going to show that here in a little bit. And this is for hot and cold water. I have this hooked up for just the cold water. You're going to see here in a little bit what I did to make sure that this works for not only when you switch it to cold, and when you switch it to hot, just nothing but cold water comes out. You can kind of see I made a plywood board here with 4 screws, so I can remove these screws. So when I want to winterize this, I just pop those 4 screws out and I pull the whole board off, making it really quick and simple. And then here's the quick connects. Now, this is the male side of the quick connect for the water hookup, which goes up and through the water filter. Now the water filter does come with this pump, and here's the C-flow pump itself, and the water flows up through here, through the filter, through the pump. And the directions clearly say, if you do mount this pump, that you make sure that the motor is facing up, not down, in case there's any leakage. No water gets into the motor itself. And then the water flows out of the pump and then comes back up to the accumulation tank. So it comes into the accumulation tank. This is kind of like a small pressurized tank, so the motor doesn't have to shut on and off, especially if you're not going full bore. You just kind of trickling out the water. The pump isn't constantly turning on and off. And then the water flows out of the accumulation tank and then comes down here and then comes up to this Y splitter. And I had to do some, you know, brass fitting funky chicken to get this to split into two, one for hot and one for cold. Now I'm only running cold water. We don't care if we have hot water. We're just using this to wash dishes, brush our teeth. You know, we're not taking showers. We don't even have a shower in this camper. But if you did, you might have to reconsider this. But at least for us, this is what we're doing. And this tees off for the hot and cold to hook it up to the sink itself, and that just goes to the sink. So it doesn't matter if I have this on cold or hot. It's just gonna have water coming out constantly for just cold water. Now for the sink itself, I'll also have a link in the description box below, at least for this particular sink. And I made sure that we got a nice deep sink here, and then I left some space here in the front for this little cubby drawer that I made. And it works really good. I'm gonna hook this up and kind of show it to you. Like I said, this is 5 gallons, and this tube goes all the way to the bottom. And I'm going to secure this. Like I said, I'm trying my best to do this with one hand with a camera. Now here's the vent cap. I'm going to leave that on so it doesn't spill out when I put it in here. I'm going to set this camera down for just a second. And here is the wastewater. Now this doesn't have a tube on it. It doesn't need to. It's just going to spill into the tank itself. You got a little bit better idea of what that fitting looks like. It just doesn't have the tube on it because it's just going to spill in. And then this has also the quick connect that I attached to it. So let's get this on. Now this is obviously empty, so I can take off my cap. I got a little thing here for holding caps and stuff, so put that in there. So this hooks up for the wastewater. Goes in the back. And then here's the actual drinkable water. 5 total gallons. Now, this is the first time I've ever done this, so I'll take this with a grain of salt. So now what I did here is around the perimeter of this, I got some vinyl baseboard, and I caulked the bottom perimeter and the corners kind of as a catch pan for, God forbid, I get some type of water leakage here, or especially if I'm switching over from an empty tank to a new full tank. I'm sure some water is going to leak on this. And this is vinyl flooring. There's no seams in it. It's vinyl. I guess I don't care if it gets any water on it. But it's really important before you hook these up that you take these vent caps off. If water comes out, it creates pressure. And if you don't take this vent cap off for air to come in, the water will never come out. So put that in there. So wastewater, drinkable water. Vent caps are off, and get this hooked up. Like I said, I'm gonna try my best to do this with one hand. And at least for the drain, there is an RV attachment. I have a link in the description box below that I got off Amazon that hooks up to the sink drain. It also comes with this tube that hooked up to the quick connect here. And I just got some fittings from Menards to get that all working. Now remember, this is a 12 volt DC motor. Now I'm running the entire camper off the Blue Eddy EB3A power station. Now keep in mind, this isn't a really big power station. This is only 268 watt hours. You know, they make much bigger power stations than this. But for our needs, we just need this to power the DC lights, the DC pump, and then for the AC side, it's just powering our TV. Just to kind of give you an idea of how this works. Right now we're pulling, I shut off the lights just to show you what the pump draws for wattage. So right now this battery is not at 100%, it's at 69%. And we're drawing 0 watts, okay? And I'm gonna see how long it takes at full bore on the faucet to drain this entire 5-gallon bucket. Now, I'm gonna let this thing charge here first. Now, I have the power coming out of this car adapter, and it is going to, let me turn on this backlight. That DC wire comes to this DC fuse box. Positive terminal here for the lead for the pump, and this is strictly devoted to the pump because it does suck up damn near 90 watts of power when it is activated. So keep that in mind. So like right now we're drawing 0 wattage. Now it takes a little while for this to prime. So I'm just gonna quick double check, make sure everything's tight. Vent caps are off. All right, so I'm going to turn on this pump. It's going to take a little while for this system to charge up, so we're drawing 0 wattage. I'm going to turn the pump on, and let's turn on this faucet. It's going to take a little while for this to charge. So now it's completely charged, and it's drawing power. So I'm going to shut this off, and you can hear that the pump shuts off. So in this test, I'm going to see how long it takes to drain this whole 5 gallons when this faucet is on full bore. Now this is completely charged up, and the pump is on, is completely charged, motor shuts off, and I'm going to turn this on at full bore, and let's see how long it takes to drain this whole 5 gallons. And so you can see it is draining 5 gallons out of the drinkable water, and it's flowing into the wastewater. So, and this is at full bore. And right now we are drawing 99 watts, pretty much 100 watts to run this motor. And at least with 70% battery life, I could run this for 1.7 hours. So remember, this is 100% on the battery. It's 1.7 hours at 68%. So we can run this for a long time, especially off a $200 power station that I got off Amazon. But you can see this is really, it's just like a kitchen faucet in your house. And you can see it's filling up the wastewater here tank, and it's pulling out of the drinkable water. We started at 5 gallons, and we're having no issues with water draining. It's not pulling up at the bottom. And it's actually working really well. You can see the water filter here, and the motor's actually pretty quiet. I'm actually pretty impressed with how quiet it is. And we have 0 leaks, so that's good. And we're about halfway. So we're about halfway in the drinkable and halfway on the wastewater. So still no problems draining. Looks like it's still drawing about 95 watts. So a real world test of this. I'll let this go until it completely kills that 5 gallon tank. Right now we're up to 2 minutes, 11 seconds. Still no problem draining. Man, this works amazing. Still going. Still drawing about 94 watts. Man, this is fantastic. So it's almost about a half gallon left. Still flowing into the waste bin. Like I said, this motor is really, really quiet. So it's almost empty already. So we are at the end of this 5-gallon tank. You can see it's almost full already on the waste. So this is at full bore. Obviously you're not going to run this full bore like this. I'll probably have it halfway, maybe even a quarter of the way. So you can see that this is now out of water. And I would say right there, we are out of water. So I would say 3 minutes, almost 4 minutes to empty a 5-gallon drum at maximum. So let me shut off this pump, and I'm going to fill this back up, but just kind of give you an idea of how this works now that this is completely empty. I'm sure some water is going to spill out here. You probably should have some type of container here. Let me just grab something here to grab some of this water. So when I pull this out, you know, actually not that much water spilled out of this. I was actually pretty impressed. That's pretty awesome. So I think only like 3 or 4 drops actually spilled out of this, and that's it. It's completely in the waste bin. So let me get this filled up, but just to show you how quick and easy this is, you just pop this off. Actually, a little bit of water did come out of the drain, obviously, but that's not too bad. So let me get this over here, get this out of the way. Now this is where I'm going to get my cap. Obviously this is full of water, so I want to get the cap on here. And I can just pull this whole thing out as the wastewater. Now I'm going to do another test here just to give you an idea how the variable flow rate works on this motor using the accumulation tank, and it's pretty nice, you know, at least for a cargo trailer camper conversion like this. Now I didn't fill this all the way back up. This is just the test to see how it works. So I got about a quarter of the way on here. So let's get the wastewater tank in here. That's where these quick connects are really nice. Trying to do this with one hand. Empty, so I'm sure this needs to recharge a little bit. So we got our power on, turn the pump back on. All right, so it's completely charged back up. Now you can really hear that pressure kicking into the system, and the pump shuts off. Now once it's fully charged up, it's pressurized, the motor shuts off, and this is full bore. You hear the motor kicks on and off if I go full bore. But say like you wouldn't want to run this full all the time. I mean, obviously, just like the test showed over here, it took about 4 minutes to kill an entire 5-gallon jug at full bore. So I'm probably not going to do that. I'm probably going to use this sparingly. You know, I can actually put this on a spray setting, and I can really lower this down to something like this. It's probably about a quarter of the way. So I'd say that's about a quarter. So that's about a quarter of the way. And with it on quarter of the way, you can hear the motor kicking in and out. So it's not running all the time. So off, 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 on, off, 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 on. It doesn't really kick in that long. You can hear the water draining into the waste bin over here, or waste tank. So that's something like you're probably going to consider, you know. You're just rinsing off dishes. You're not going to want to run this full bore. You're probably going to use it sparingly. Well, this is full bore. You can hear the motor on all the time. If I shut this off, the system pressurizes, the motor shuts off, and it's really that simple. So at least in that test at full bore, 100% on the faucet, we got roughly about 4 minutes on a 5-gallon tank. Now, for pure example, if you're rather than going 100% on the faucet, you want halfway or 50%, you're gonna get twice that amount. Rather than 4, it'd be 8 minutes. And if you use it sparingly, like a quarter of the way or 25% on the faucet, it'd be twice that amount. So it'd be 16 minutes. Well, that was one 5-gallon drum. I have 3 5-gallon drums, or 15 total gallons. So if I was to use it sparingly at 25% on the faucet times 3, 1 gallon at 25%, you get 16 minutes. 60 minutes times 3 for the 3 5-gallon drums, that'd be 48 total minutes of use. So like, just to show on this, you know, test, if you use it sparingly and not at full bore, it actually lasts quite a long time. You know, for us, we're just going to be using it for washing dishes, for, you know, brushing our teeth, filling up a glass of water to drink, and that's about it. We're not using this for a shower or a toilet. So at least for our cargo camper conversion, I think this is going to be perfect. Well, check out the description box below. I'll have a link to not only at least the Blue Eddy power station I'm using, but also bigger ones if you have a bigger system. I have a link for this car adapter with a 12 gauge wire on it going to that fuse box. I have links on all of that, which that power comes off the DC fuse box, goes to the switch so I can shut this on and off. And that power comes down here, hooks up to the motor, red to red, black to black. And I have links on the pump, the accumulation tank, the 5-gallon jugs here. And just to show you, I made enough room for this. And these caps actually do have a rubber gasket on it, which is really nice. Just enough room to store all of my water. So that way we got 15 gallons of drinkable water and 1 for waste. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed part 7 here, at least on the plumbing. This is most likely going to be the last part of the series. Like I said, check out the playlist area. I have the other 6 parts in that playlist. It literally goes over everything. And when I say everything on this cargo trailer camper conversion, I'm not kidding, everything. Well, if you learned something and you found this helpful, scratch my back by subscribe, like, and share. And I'll see you guys in the next video. It's most likely going to be me camping. See you later.